everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Online Warriors podcast. My name is Nerdbomber. As you can tell, I sound like a frog. As per usual, every week I come on here, I have a different ailment. Today, I am very sick, but it's a big week. So I'm joined by Techtic. He's going to carry a lot of load here.
Hello, how's it going, everyone?
I have been better. So we just got back from a brief vacation, not like a week or anything, but just like a little 4-day little trip. And I think to defend myself a little bit, if you don't come back from vacation super freaking sick, you're doing it wrong. Am I right?
You know what? Hell yeah. Also, shout out to 2 weeks ago when you had a sprained thumb. So you are being consistent, if anything.
Every week, my body is just falling apart a little bit at a time. It's totally fine. Now, Techtic, how are you avoiding getting whatever I have? Because I have been around you. We've been sharing drinks, sharing bottles, that kind of stuff. We're married, folks. It happens. Sleeping in the same bed. How are you avoiding my sickness?
I don't ever get sick, and when I do, it hits me like a ton of bricks. I will say I am going to be a bit of a baby when the allergies really start dropping, but that's just because I refuse to take any kind of allergy medicine. My immune system is the exact opposite of yours, where it will fight literally everything, to the point where, fun fact about me, I have something called oral allergy syndrome, and my immune system is so active that it thinks if I breathe in pollen that it needs to attack it, and so that goes nuts. So take it in strides. It's both good and bad. I won't ever get sick, but I'll get my mouth very painful.
Which is totally great for a podcast host. We've got painful mouth and super sore throat and cough, but we're going to do our best because it's basically E3 week. And I know E3 doesn't exist anymore. I get it. But in my brain, this week of all the video game showcases and announcements, that will always be E3 to me.
I hate that it's not E3, that it's a bunch of pocketed things trying to extend it out, and then you have these massive... It should just be E3 month, where week 1, week 2, week 3, so that we can do each and every showcase justice instead of trying to pack it into one episode.
Yeah, so this week we're going to be covering the PlayStation Direct, where there were a ton of announcements. We're going to be covering the Xbox Showcase. Summer Games Fest also happened in that time period as well. Guys, we just don't have enough time to cover everything. We can't even get into the 2 showcases in full depth here. We're picking and choosing our top picks, and I know we're going to upset people because we're not going to cover every game, and there's going to be somebody who's like, hey, you didn't cover my favorite announcement. Man, I don't know what to tell you. There's just not enough time. We have an hour, and it's going to be jam-packed. So without further ado, we usually have a little bit more banter in the beginning, but we've got so much to cover. So let's just get into it. And we're going to start with the Xbox Showcase, just because that one is a little bit fresher in our minds. It happened after the PlayStation Showcase, but also it's just full of bangers.
It was beefier.
It was very beefy. It was 2 hours versus, I think the PlayStation Direct was something on the order of 50 minutes. And I know part of that Xbox Showcase being that long was because we got a really in-depth look at the Obsidian stuff that's coming out. So, the Outerworlds 2 and Grounded 2, we got an extended look at. But there was just also a ton of media announcements, and I think the biggest one is new hardware. So Xbox announced that they're partnering with basically the Rogue Ally, and they're making an Xbox branded Rogue system. And it's a handheld that is going to play all of your Xbox games. And this is what I thought was great. And I'm a big Steam Deck lover, but they announced that unlike the Steam Deck, this will be able to natively play your Xbox games, in addition to being able to act basically like a Windows computer, allowing you to play your Steam library, your GOG library, your Ubisoft Connect, Epic Games, whatever you can play on your Windows, computer or PC, you can access on this handheld as well.
Yeah, this is amazing. I was full board to get myself a Steam Deck, and I have to say, I'm pivoting. This is a day one buy for me, honestly. I am going to buy this. Hopefully if it's I know this is a lot of money, but if it's $600 or less, I will buy this day one, and you can hold me to that.
Well, so apparently from the speculation, and they didn't announce this during the showcase, but from all of the different insider articles and stuff like that, there's supposedly going to be 2 models of this. So there's going to be a cheaper one, a more entry level that's going to be closer, they're speculating, in the $400 to $500 range. And then the top tier one is going to be closer to your $700 to $800 range. So does that sway you? Would you go entry level and just, know you're probably going to end up streaming games?
I'd have to see what the specifications are. I really want to truly be offline playing. I don't want to be worrying about streaming. So if it means I can just have something that'll last the test of time, I might just go all in on the more expensive one, but I'd have to see what the specifications are. And even in what we saw, they did kind of show a little bit, like we saw a brief snippet of the Asus logo. We also saw they have an AMD Ryzen for the graphics card. So like we know this thing is going to be stacked. And then also it comes in black or white, which is also fun.
And impulse triggers, which I don't even like. I'm assuming impulse triggers, I have to Google this. I probably should have done this on the fly before the show, but I'm assuming impulse triggers mean there's some kind of like force feedback or haptic feedback with the triggers. And like my Xbox controller doesn't even have that. So
PlayStation does. So it's definitely a response.
Right. So I don't know. It feels like it would be worth, when you compare that versus an Xbox console, assuming that this is basically going to replace your home console, like that would be great. And what I love about it too, so like the Steam Deck, obviously you can stream Game Pass games, but we could literally sit next to each other then, one person on a handheld, one person using the console, and we could play everything on Game Pass, and it would be a total game changer for the way that we play games, at least.
Which, you know me, I hate taking the TV for no reason.
So yeah, that was a pretty big announcement. I'm very excited about that. Sounds like Techtic, you're going to be procuring one of these for us, and I support it.
Yeah, I'm all in. I really did not think I was going to get the next rendition of the Xbox hardware, and they've done it. They've pulled me back in because, like, I don't know.
Having access to your full library of stuff is, like, crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, I felt like Switch was kind of where I was just going to hang out for the rest of my days, but I'm back. I'm back, Microsoft. You did it.
So obviously there's no reason to get an Xbox handheld or anything of the sort without having games to play on it. And we got a lot of games announced during this. So obviously the big one, Outerworlds 2. Techtic, what did you think of this? We've seen this before, but we've got a much more in-depth look at it here.
I mean, Outerworlds is that same cheeky Fallout vibes and has fantastic space silly weapons, and like from that alone, I'm here for it.
And the corporate humor, I love that. You know, if you guys haven't gathered by now, like, I love that stuff. I eat that up for breakfast. I mean, and I get it. A corporation is making this game, but like that's for me.
I mean, that's why we liked Fallout, right? Vault-Tec. That's why I make that connection. This is space Fallout to me, and like banger. You can keep pumping out these Outer Worlds, and I will be all in.
I do enjoy it. It does look more polished than the first game. And you love to see that evolution. Like, obviously, when Obsidian made the first Outer Worlds, I'm trying to remember, but I don't think they were yet acquired by Xbox, so I don't think they had the full punch when they started working on the original Outer Worlds. They didn't have the budget and the resources to put behind it, and it still ended up being a pretty fun game. But you can tell, like, there's definitely leaps and bounds of more resources to just make it look a little bit more polished and better, and I'm here for it.
I am interested to see a little bit more on the story side of it and where we're kind of going with it. But yeah, this is going to be a play it on Game Pass and have fun with it.
And that will be coming out October 29th. So keep your eyes peeled for that. The next one, and I think this is the one I was probably the most excited for in this entire showcase, except maybe one other game. Clockwork Revolution.
This was my number one. Have you ever played the game Time Shift?
I have not. I've heard you wax poetic. You love it.
No one's played this game, and it makes me so mad. Okay. So a little bit about this game. This game, it starts off as it's like a steampunk dystopia where everyone's got that like Hunger Games frill outfits, like the upper echelon, so to speak. Your character plays
But there's also kind of some of that Peaky Blinders like gangs vibe in there as well.
Your player plays kind of a thief and yes, has that Peaky Blinders aesthetic. She's reading off my notes, guys.
I literally have it written down in my notebook in handwriting.
And from that aspect and that aspect alone, I was hooked. And then all of a sudden you steal this artifact and you have the ability to stop time, rewind time, slow down time. And this is the exact same abilities that you're given in this game, Time Shift. And I have been waiting years and years and years to see an adequate version of that gameplay mechanic that I loved way back in the day. And finally, it is here, folks. I could not be more hyped about this game.
Well, it also seems like very robust. I don't know how it played out in Time Shift, if it was just like you could turn back combat. But in this, it seems like you can rewrite the past and the future. Like you can go back enough in time to rewrite, who leaders are, what like religions and stuff like that are. It seems like you can completely change the trajectory of the society that you're in. And not only that, but it also seems like it's got a ton of like story driven elements. Like this is an RPG. They showed character creation, which I'm going to spend like 5 hours creating the perfect character for me. There's dialogue options. I eat that shit up for breakfast. Like that's some of my favorite stuff. I don't understand why I love dialogue options so much, but I do. Catch me in a BioWare game. I don't know. That's just everything about this. And then like the first person shooteriness. Oh, it's just so good. So good.
So it's the day one buy for you?
I don't need to buy it because I'm pretty sure this is coming out on Game Pass, which so many of these games are coming out on Game Pass. It is. I know people have mixed reviews on Game Pass, but especially when you sit through a showcase like this, the value of Game Pass just becomes so apparent and it's crazy. Any more you want to say about Clockwork Revolution before we hit the next one?
No, we can move on to the next one.
All right, so this is one that I was super excited about. Resonance, A Plague Tale Legacy. So this is actually a prequel to the Plague Tale games. And if you don't know anything about me, know this. Take this away from this episode. I am a huge fan of the Plague Tale franchise. I think they were severely underrated games and they were rated pretty highly, but I still think they didn't get enough love and justice as they should. Some of my favorite games that I've played in the last decade. Incredible storytelling, incredible stealth, just everything about it, the ambience of the franchise. And so there is a character that's introduced in the second Plague Tale game, Plague Tale Requiem, Sophia, who is not a main character, but is just kind of like a supporting character. And so this prequel game is going to be exploring and following her. She's going to be the main character, and it's going to be following basically a different manifestation of the macula, which seems to be like a minotaur. I don't know. This whole thing looked very actiony, more so actiony than the Plague Tale games, which focus a little bit more on stealth. And just being able to explore this character and get back into this world, man, I'm so excited. I was not anticipating this. This is something that I'm super jazzed about. I cannot wait for this. This is coming out in 2026, which is soon.
In addition to it, like having all of that period piece, the fact that you like are also seeing like gladiators going on, that's just this looks like it's taken what the original game was and taken it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, I'm so stoked about this. I can't wait. I literally like wrote down in my notes, A Plague Tale, fuck yes, exclamation, excuse my swearing, but that's how excited I am for this franchise to make its way back into my hands. So the next game we want to touch on is Aphelion. Techtic. Tell us a little bit about Aphelion. You've got a nice little write-up here.
So when I was watching Aphelion, the first thing I got is, oh, okay, you're a space explorer on a new world trying to survive, and you're trying to locate Thomas. And I was like, okay, this is kind of puzzly, exploring. Seems like it could be sweet. And then they pan over finally at the end of this trailer to Thomas. And Thomas has some shit to deal with because we're hearing like alien noises. And so it seems like there's almost like these parallel plays going on where it's like Dead Space on one side and then Puzzle Explorer on the other side. And I just really want to see how these two things mesh together.
Yeah, because I mean, I would say probably for the first 95% of this trailer, you're basically like you've crash landed on a snowy planet and it just looks like you're trying to figure out a way to survive, get back to humanity and traverse this planet, which looked cool in and of itself. Like I wrote down like, this looks super peaceful. Love the music choice for this trailer, all that kind of stuff. And especially like the developer Don't Nod too, like they have a great pedigree. So when it was just kind of exploring this planet, I was like, okay, bet, let's go. But then adding that last minute like alien thing, I'm really curious to see what the balance of like peaceful versus like alien combat is going to be in this game. And we don't know enough about it at this point, but I'm very curious to see what it's going to play like.
And similarly, and do you mind if I transition?
No, go for it.
Okay. So this transitions perfectly into Mudang Two Hearts. You play through multiple combat perspectives that kind of intertwine together. And that's why I think it segues well, because we saw that in the previous game. We're seeing that in this game. And the vibes that I got from this one was, do you remember in the Spider-Man game where you'd have a section where you're playing as Mary Jane?
Yes.
And you have different abilities. This was kind of like that, but only everyone's just a little bit badass. So it's like that style combined with like the first person shooter COD type combat, we'll call it. And this just looked absolutely excellent. And I wanted to just sit there with my little ball of red yarn to link everything together.
What I was also super stoked about this one, I feel like you see a lot of military shooters that are Western based, but it's very rare. I feel like it's not often that you see a lot of like Eastern culture, like it basically looks like a Western shooter, but it's based in a different culture. And I'm super here for that. I feel like you need to expand that genre. And I'm really loving to see what they're going to do with this in a different setting. I think it's going to be, a lot different than your standard, like, God, I'm going to go out there and be Rambo. I just feel like it's going to be a different, more refreshing take on the genre.
Agreed. So that was our overall top 5 of the showcase. And now we're going to go into what we call the B squad. And I got to say, do not think that just because they're B squads that they're any less. These games are also just as amazing. So the first thing we have to touch on is Grounded 2. We're getting this to come back, and it's the same. Well, it's literally the same story. I don't know how I feel about this one. Why Grounded 1 was good, it was because it was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the video game. Okay. And I kind of hoped that they took it to like this new thing, but they're back shrunk in the same backyard. And I don't know if that's going to be received as well.
It almost feels like it's an expansion for the first game rather than a new game itself, but it might just be early enough where like we just haven't seen enough. And I know they did a little bit of a deep dive, but I would just like to see how it's going to really differentiate itself from the first game. But that said, like, I really enjoyed our time with the first Grounded. Like, we were obsessed with it for like a solid like month. We played it endlessly.
If it's in the same yard, shouldn't it be a DLC? Like when we saw the trailer and you saw the news anchor on the TV that was like on a floor, like they could have had them in a city or something. There's so many more elements to being little in other places. And I kind of wish they did that, but I digress.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how it plays out. I think it's still early days, and it is coming, though, this summer, July 29th. So I guess it's not like that early days, because it's coming soon to early access. So I guess we'll see. I think that's the only other thing that I can say that kind of disappoints me. And I know the first Grounded came out in early access and was very successful. But at a certain point, I did feel like we were kind of like missing the boat on stuff, because we played it when it launched in early access. And then I think we played it for, I don't know, like a month on end and then stepped away from it, because that's typically our cycle with games like that. And then I feel like they added so much to the game that we just never experienced. And like going back to it at that point feels kind of daunting, because you're just starting all over again after you've already done so much in the game. I'm like, I get early access, I get the point of it, but like just give me a full game. I don't know.
So that's Grounded 2. The next thing I want to talk about is The Blood of Dawn Walker. Now, this one is you're a vampire hunter that can also walk in the day. So you're kind of like split between the two worlds. And this is probably going to be a bad take of this, but you're basically an old-timey Blade. Blade is a vampire hunter. And that was the vibe I got of this. I'm not against that. That's really not a bad thing, because Blade is sweet. And to just get Blade in another time period piece, awesome.
See, I wrote down like Assassin's Creed Blade, which was the vibe that I was getting from this, and I'm totally on board with it. Like, because there was obviously a lot of like, there were some stealth elements like you see in Assassin's Creed. There was like blade slashy combat. There was also like the warp between different areas, which I thought was very cool, somewhat reminiscent of Dishonored. I think there was an ability in the first Dishonored, maybe even the second one, where you could like warp between points. I don't know. I thought this looked pretty cool. I feel like there's not a lot of vampire games lately. Like there was that.
I think that's good though. I feel like last year we were just unbelievably inundated with vampire games.
Were we?
Yes, there was. It felt like we were talking about a new vampire game like every other day.
I know there was that one. I don't even remember the name of it because it ended up being really bad. But there was that one Xbox game. I don't remember what it was called, where you played like vampire, and it was like a 4-person, almost like a Left 4 Dead type game. But I can't remember what else there was vampire-y.
And that's why there's been a hiatus for a while.
That game just killed the genre.
It felt like we were just inundated with them last year, and it makes sense that we're seeing less year. But this one looks good overall.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for this one. This one will be coming out in 2026, so a little time yet before we get to see it, but very excited nonetheless. The next game on our list is one from Game Freak, and you might be thinking, oh, a Pokemon game on Xbox? But no. This one is called Beast of Reincarnation, and there appears to be some kind of like blight deer moving across the planet, and it is your job as a sort of like samurai person to fight these kind of like nature monsters with this little wolf friend, maybe like a spiritual wolf friend, I couldn't tell. But it just seemed like a really fun action game and a big deviation from what we know Game Freak to normally do.
My literal comment on this game isn't even on this game. It's literally Game Freak can make large detailed worlds with intense combat. Wouldn't you know it? Also the badass samurai fighter chick.
Yeah, I don't know. This looked really good to me. I will probably be playing it. I mean, I feel like there's so many games now coming out in 2026 just from these two showcases that I'm a little like, how am I going to do it all? Because like I'm not even.
You kind of needed to be on the go to play all these with an Xbox ally,
Oh,
not a sponsor.
My brain immediately went to like Pokemon Go, and I'm like, I don't understand because Game Freak, and I was just like, I don't understand. I didn't make the connection.
Delete all of that out. You're just gonna just laugh. So then the next one that I want. So then the next one that I want to mention, and this one is like, this is definitely one that is, again, to your point, it's going to be hard to play all of these, but there are no ghosts at the Grand. Originally, I thought this was going to be...
Well, this looked like a Blueprints knockoff.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be exactly that.
It was like, oh, your grandfather left you this house. It's magical. But
and instead of solving a puzzle, you're going to renovate it. But then I was like, no, I'm not going to do any of that. But then they started to get into a little bit of like the New Orleans monsters. And you had that cat with like, it looked like it had the Day of the Dead skull on his face.
And then all of a sudden you're driving in like an ATV or maybe a boat and the cat's chilling with you. And it's very confusing because you put your renovation little gun away and now you're on a boat and a vehicle.
And to that point, I'm always interested in these kind of like the lore and how a lot of this history and stuff is adapted to video games. And we had talked about this in that other New Orleans game. South of Midnight came out with the same kind of rich history and lore behind that. And that just gets me excited. So
and then they also added like another dimension because like all of a sudden you think you're just like exploring earthly lore, but then like the buildings are ripped away and you're going through like some weird portal to another dimension, which added a whole nother layer to this.
Trippy and good. That's my recommendation of this. I'm all about it.
So kind of moving on to the next one, I'm not a huge fan of this franchise. I know it's getting a lot of traction and it's really big, especially because this is an anime, right? But like Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive, you put this on the list.
Okay, yes.
I'm going to let you run with it.
Because this is getting a lot of hype. It won Best New Anime at the Anime Awards, and now there's a game adaptation. And on top of that, you know how I feel about co-op. Well, guess what? This is 4-player co-op. So, like, why wouldn't you want it? So, like I said, it's a fantastic anime. It's a fantastic manga. It's got 4-player co-op, and the combat looks sweet. The battles looked awesome. I'm in. This looks great.
Are you saying we need to watch the show?
Listen, I'm all for getting you to watch more anime. I really am.
Bro, I have no problem watching animated things. I just have yet to find something that pulls me in the way that like Avatar has.
I think we should give this a try. It's getting it's being really well received. I think we should absolutely give this a try, both the game and the show.
Yeah, add it to my list. Add it to my docket. I might be a new super fan. Every now and then you hit on something, and then I feel like my fandom for it surpasses any interest you have in it.
All right, you've heard it here first, folks. She's in. The next one that I want to talk about is High on Life 2. The first one, crazy guns, quirky, weird, uncomfortable, squishy stuff, and it's back. And you have like a skateboard, which is like, all right, hell yeah, let's go. It just looks more fun. Sequel, let's go.
Honestly, this one took me by surprise. I was not expecting High on Life to get a sequel. I don't know why. Like, I think the game did pretty well. I just wasn't anticipating a sequel to show up in the showcase. So, yeah, I mean, it looks fun. I really love this aesthetic in general. Like, I feel like we lost this aesthetic somewhere along the way. And I really love the pull to, like, bright, fun colors and stuff like that. It gives me, like, Sunset Overdrive vibes.
Would you play the first one?
I think I had downloaded it meaning to play the first one. And then it just fell to the bottom of my list. I don't know why.
Put it on the top of the list.
What is on the top of my list at all times, unfortunately, and I can't get its grips out of me, but it is the Call of Duty franchise. And lo and behold, they saved one of the best things for last. And I say that kind of with like my tongue in cheek because I have a love-hate relationship with Call of Duty, but they announced Call of Duty Black Ops 7. They've got some big name actors at the helm here. They got the guy from This Is Us amongst a ton of other movies. I think he was in Gilmore Girls as well. I wish I remembered his name right now, but I don't. But it seems like they're going very like futuristic, and even at times it seems like the campaign is going to have some like horror elements. Like it was giving me out like the vibes of Control almost, which is very interesting because that's not normally what I've come to expect from Call of Duty. to be completely honest with you. And so that looks really interesting from a campaign standpoint. I think they showed it off even some like zombies to indicate that there's going to be a zombies iteration as part of this game. But what really worries me a little bit is I am somebody who, for my Call of Duty experience, I hate jetpacks. I hate like wall running. I hate all that stuff. I like boots on the ground, classic Call of Duty. I don't mind that stuff in Halo, but in Call of Duty, something about the jetpacks and the wall running and all that kind of stuff and like aerial stuff, I can't get a grip on. And then I just end up getting pwned the entire time. And so I'm really worried just based on the like really futuristic, like mechatronic, like robots and stuff that they showed in this trailer. I'm worried that it's going to be a return to like jetpack stuff. And I hate that. So we'll see. I
don't think it is. I think you're going to be the anti-tech guy fighting the tech threats. I think it's going to be you dealing with those jetpacks. I think the story is going to be...
That's fine in the campaign, but I'm talking about in multiplayer. Because in multiplayer, they're going to have people with those abilities, and I'm going to hate that.
You're talking to the guy that can care less about Call of Duty Black Ops 7.
I know.
Like the online multiplayer.
So,
I'm a story guy.
And I don't want to deviate. We have a lot to talk about. But like something about Call of Duty or Halo, first-person shooters, I can put music on for like 45 minutes at the end of my night, turn my brain off, and just play. Yeah. And it's great. And it's something you can drop into. Games take 5 to 10 minutes max. It's kind of like my Rocket League, except I don't have to, like, I like to play Rocket League with you. You don't always want to play Rocket League on a Wednesday night at 10 o'clock. So I can hop into Call of Duty because I don't have to worry about getting paired with randos who suck at Rocket League. So that's my story.
That's fair. I also am not allowed to play multiplayer, but that's a story for another day.
Not by me. He's been banned. He was hacked.
Yeah. So then the last thing that I want to talk about is Invincible Versus. And I want you guys, all of you listeners, to put a pin in this one mentally. This one was a 3v3 tag team fighting game, and it had a lot of blood, and it had all of the Invincible cast and crew, and like the character art looked good. However, I thought the fighting looked kind of choppy.
It looked like, and don't come at me for this, but it looked like a free-to-play indie fighter.
Yeah.
That just had the Invincible skin on it. And it made me a little sad.
There's something to be said. And when we get into the PlayStation State of Play, we're going to talk about what a smooth fighting progression looks like. There's something to be said with acing that hit after hit after hit, where it doesn't look like it's just like skipping to a new animation. And it just, something felt janky about this. And I really wish that it looked better because I love the Invincible team. I think it would play really good as a fighting game. It just wasn't hitting for me.
Before we completely move on, I don't necessarily want to talk about this, but I just want to shout it out because I know we do have some Super Meat Boy fans in the audience, but they did also announce Super Meat Boy 3D. So they're basically making it a 3D platformer instead of, flat, which is fun and exciting for all of you who love to be punished. It looks cute. It looks more up my alley now that it's in 3D. But damn, it still looks punishing. And I don't know if I want to put myself through that, just being honest.
I appreciate your honesty.
So before we head into the PlayStation State of Play, I would be remiss if I didn't shout out our wonderful Patreon producers, Stephen Keller and Lloyd Weldy. They are subscribed to us at the night level, where they get this fantastic shout out, as well as occasional guest spots on the show. They also get to vote on our secret segment topic. They get access to that secret segment, and they get access to our vlog. If you want to be as cool as Stephen and Lloyd, head on over to patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. There's 3 different tiers of patronage, each with their own slew of perks. It helps us keep the lights on here at Online Warrior Central, and it just makes you a super cool person. So definitely check it out. And thanks to Stephen and Lloyd. Now we'll get back to you after the break.
I'm Ryan Fonzie.
This is Cameron Hagee.
My name is Tony Giggles.
And we're 3 dudes who love The Legend of Zelda and love talking about The Legend of Zelda.
And if you are a Zelda fan as much as we are, then come on down and listen to your heart's content.
We have a podcast that we like to share with you. It's called A for No, B for Yes. We cover the Legend of Zelda series, different games chapter by chapter, and we have all kinds of theories about what we see and what we've experienced in the game.
Do you go through Wikipedia and look up stuff based on the things you see in the game to create theories to how it could link to other things in the world that we actually live in, and not the Zelda one that was the one that was created by the people that are in the world that we actually live in right now? Because if you don't, then you should watch this, because we do.
Did you guys get all that? If not, oh, you didn't. Okay. So we are A for No, B for... Alright, I'll stop.
and we're back. And we're shifting gears to talk about PlayStation now. If you thought there were a ton of announcements and we couldn't possibly top the Xbox showcase, well, I mean, okay, I do think the Xbox showcase was a little bit stronger. Not going to lie. I'm not a console war person. We have them all. We have no skin in the game.
Hold on. No. I think the Xbox showcase just had a lot more content. I thought the stack of shows in this one were stronger.
There is very few things that could dull my hype for a new Plague Tale game. So, okay, but I get what you're saying. There were some pretty big announcements in this PlayStation showcase, and I'm very excited to dig into them. And I think we'll just go right off the bat. And I know we're going a little bit out of order, but since we just talked about the Invincible fighting game, we're going to talk about Marvel Tōkon Fighting Souls.
Okay, so this one is a 4v4 tag team fighter, and they had picked the exact correct studio to model these characters. This was Marvel v. Capcom with a touch of anime to just make it perfect. I mean, Iron Man had like just a little bit of like Gundam tweak to him, and he looked so good.
The art style and aesthetic here was fantastic. And I think this was part of what made this game stand out so much too, because it just looks so freaking polished and also very unique. Like, it's not the same played out version of the Marvel characters that we're used to seeing.
And beyond that, again, to look at parallels here, the combat looked very, very smooth. And what's even more fascinating about this game, it wasn't bloody, but that's all you got from the Invincible game was blood. Ooh. But they took it one step further, and they're 4v4. So that gives you the option to fight with your leader and then have 3 full character assists while you're fighting, or through the match, you can constantly be changing up who the leader is to completely change the dynamic of the fight and keep it fresh through the whole battle. Keep your opponent on their toes. That's fantastic.
I also really loved that they kind of addressed, so my issue with fighting games is that there are a lot of moves to learn, and I'm a very casual fighting game player. Like, I am not the person out here with the fight stick. I don't get that in depth with it. I just like to pick it up and like mash buttons. And so they kind of address, like, you don't have to learn 4 characters. They've made the game adapt to your playing style. So if you just want to have your one main guy and have the other characters come in for assists, you can do that without ever really swapping out too, which is great for someone like me who's going to casually drop in, probably pick my favorite superhero and never look at the other ones in depth again, which is fantastic.
And what's even more fantastic about this game is PlayStation also announced that they're throwing out a controller for a fight stick accessory, so that, like, if you wanted to just get into fighting games as a whole, it's like a one-stop shop for PlayStation. I was just very happy with the way that they showcased this game and then packaged it with this accessory. It made me want to be one of those fighter people. Look at me.
I totally agree. Like, this is not normally my bag. I usually see fighting games and I'm just like, meh, whatever, because I'm not going to play them. But like, they made me want to pick this up. And not only is it impressive because I'm not a fighting game person, but I've kind of petered out a little bit on like the Marvel universe a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll take up the illegal mantle. I'm just not as invested in it as I would have been like 10, 15 years ago. So to get me this excited and also get me excited about this franchise too in this format, aces. I'm very pumped about this.
And just as a shout out to a parallel, there was a side comic book run where Iron Man made everyone an Iron Man suit because they lost their powers and it mimicked their abilities. And like, that was like the cool twist that I'm always looking to see on various Avengers. They need to keep twisting it up because that's what makes it fun. And like I said, the anime touch was just chef's kiss.
So I feel like we've kind of waxed poetic about this. This was just, honestly, it was fantastic. Even in terms of like the presentation and showing the love and care that went into it from Sony and the developer and Marvel, and how they kind of worked in tandem to make it like the best Marvel fighting game they could. Like, I don't know. It was just, I was blown away by this. I was not expecting to be blown away by this, but here we are.
And just one more tidbit. I had mentioned Marvel versus Capcom. You used to think of Marvel when you thought of fighting games, and then they just disappeared from obscurity. This puts them back in the limelight. Let's go.
I do wonder, the only thing, because I believe this is a PlayStation exclusive, and I do wonder how that's going to impact the player base. Because I know fighting games have a huge, online presence and like tournament culture. So I do wonder how that will impact things, or if it won't. Maybe enough people are on the PlayStation platform that it's just going to be gangbusters. We'll see.
It's a really good point. I'm excited to see if they loosen the clutching of their pearls, maybe.
So this next game, I know we're both stoked about, but I know Techtic, you are like gung-ho about Romeo Is A Deadman.
Yeah, this one, like the trailer artwork where it just pivoted from cartoony to just that clean animation style, and then it rolled right into a hack and slashing and cool music and fun visuals.
I'm not gonna lie to you. So you had told me you had seen this before, and you're like, "This is really cool." And when this trailer started, I thought to myself, like, "This is some like Cartoon
the trailer
Network."
Fucking delivered.
Yeah.
Though.
Well, no, I was like, "This is some Cartoon Network slop that I don't want to play." And then all of a sudden, it like kicked it into 1,000. I'm like, "Holy shit! Okay, I'm in." Here we
There's
are.
something to be said to taking time and like working on the artwork of your trailer, and they delivered. I was immediately sold. They did what they came out to do, and that was get me on board with this quirky, weird, fun hack and slash.
Plus, there's also like shooting elements too. Like it's a slasher, it's a shooter, third person. I don't know. This is just I'm on board.
And you know it's gonna be weird, just like High on Life 2 is like it's gonna have that same like the back of his shirt talk to you. Like I love weirdness in games. We don't need to be real. We need to escape reality, and this did all that.
So we obviously don't have Game Pass for any of these PlayStation games. Is this a day one for you, or would you be buying this?
This is probably a day 2 for me, just because I'm gonna get Marvel Tōkon. But yeah, this is something I would 100% play.
Now, another game that I didn't think I would be into, and then it was announced, and I surprisingly was very into it, was 007 First Light. And like initially when I saw it was a 007 game, I like inwardly groaned. I was like, I hate this spy bullshit. I don't care. But this is essentially a 007 James Bond origin story where he's going to be making mistakes. He's not as smooth and suave as you see him in most 007 movies. He doesn't have it figured out. He's kind of going in a little bit more guns a-blazing in some instances. And this entire thing just looks super cinematic. There's stealth, but there's also a lot of action. There's a huge swath of set pieces. There's car chases. You're in a nightclub. Like there's so much stuff going on in this trailer. And it just seems like it's going to be an action-packed, really good time.
Yeah, I didn't know that I wanted a young Bond.
But you do, right?
And it's absolutely perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I not only want a young Bond in this game, but I want now young Bond movies. I want them to fully flesh this out because, like, yes, we've seen early Bond when he's getting started, but we've never seen, like, young Bond. I want to see Bond in the academy. Like, they were talking about how he was this pain in the ass. I want to see flashbacks of that in this. I really want to see a baby with a silencer pistol. That's what I want.
Well, especially, so they showed that this was being made in partnership with Amazon MGM. And like, obviously it has to be because now they own the James Bond franchise. But I'm curious to see, and this is just like, maybe Amazon, if you're listening to this, you can give me some credit for this idea. But I don't know who the like mocap actor or the voice actor playing James Bond in this is, or the slew of characters that they have in this game. But like, I don't know, maybe you do something with this and like you make it an all-inclusive, like the game Bond is your new young James Bond actor. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing things out there. Give me a different James Bond experience than what we've been getting. Because like, I like this James Bond better than anything I've gotten in the past in your movies.
Yeah, I concur. Listen to her. Listen to her. She knows what she's talking about.
I also think the developer choice, IO Interactive, also a fantastic choice. Like this is in their wheelhouse. IO Interactive made the Hitman games, which are fantastic. He's a hitman. He's not a spy, but similar elements.
It's going to work.
Yeah,
and
fantastic.
By the way, just as a side note for this podcast, we're waxing poetic because we're picking the bangers. We didn't want to waste air with the non-bangers. So it's going to be a positive show all around.
And this is 2026, so we have like a year or so to go. But for the first time ever, sign me up for some spy nonsense.
Absolutely. Now, this next one is another time travel-y thing. This is Tides of Tomorrow. You are a time walker multiplayer story person. And what I mean by that is as you pick your adventure, you get to see other players, like literally other players, and what decisions they made. And do you want to make the same decision as them, or do you want to make your own decision? And you can kind of see how it played out for them, and maybe that's the cut of your jib, or maybe it's not. And like, I have to say, how the hell they implemented this is absolutely fascinating to me. The
I'm
amount of
curious
like
how it's gonna
save
work.
data that it's like pinging around the world. I gotta know. This looks absolutely mint, and like it's very interesting to me just from the like technology implementation. This looks so cool.
Well, because they said too that player choices will impact the story of the game. And I'm wondering if it's like your personal story or if it's like the persistent story world. And I'm wondering then like how, if you're a latecomer to the game, you know, like you pick this up a year after launch, how is your playing experience going to differ from somebody who's picked it up on launch day? I'm so curious how this is going to be executed.
What it looked like is like, let's say you're on a boat and you're looking at several islands. It gave you different players that were on each island, and you picked to go to that player. You didn't see how it shook out on that island, but now you're following that specific character and through their run. And then within that run, you can then choose to follow them further or to like deviate. And like, so I get how that works, but it's just like, how does it pick? And like, I don't know. It's fascinating to me. Just such a novel concept. And every time I talk about this, I get more excited.
Also, the gameplay, like, it's up my alley. There's some first-person combat, but there's also, like, ship and ATV combat as well, it looked like. So it looked like there's a lot of different play experience within this one game, too, which, I don't know, I just find that very fun. When games shake it up and it's not just the same play style throughout the entire thing, you add some vehicle elements and whatnot, I'm here for it. You need a little break every now and then.
It seems like it's becoming like, it's becoming the you got to have fishing trope in your game, or...
You do gotta have fishing.
Like the games are just giving you more and more these days. It's incredible. So then the next one that I want to mention is Hirogami. Hirogami is, it's not claymation, but it kind of looked like claymation. It was really interesting animation. And it's a 3D platformer, and your character can like navigate the area by basically changing into different origami shapes. For example, you can turn into a bird origami and fly, or you can turn into what looked like a little hedgehog thing and just kind of crawl under there. And it was really cool to see these transformations, and all, you know, you're just basically one piece of paper kind of a thing. And I just thought this was a really neat way to execute transforming within a game.
Yeah, I love the aesthetic. I love the platforming nature of it. I was on board with this one too. I mean, plus it just kind of had like cutesy vibes, especially you throw animals in a game, you let me be an animal, and I'm all here for it. So this one is coming out September 3rd, so not too far away, and I'm excited to play this one. The next one that we want to talk about is Bloodstained Scarlet Engagement, and this is one that is definitely a little bit more up Techtic's alley than mine. It is a 2D platformer with a bunch of like crazy demons and beasts that you have to battle and fight. I did like the aesthetic of it.
Was
though.
this co-op? I couldn't tell, because there were times when you were side-scrolling alone, but you were also side-scrolling with a friend.
I didn't get the vibe that it was co-op, but I did get the vibe that there were other people within this story who would kind of like become your companion. Yeah.
Okay. As you said, it's a Castlevania vibes. It has excellent boss designs, and like even within that, and this is something that I haven't really seen in Castlevania, is there was pretty detailed character customization. And so they're taking what is the standard formula and they're elevating it. And so I thought because of that and that alone, that this is worth a shout out.
So this is coming out in 2026. So like I said, the 2026 docket, insane. Absolutely insane.
It's getting overwhelming. Additionally, we should talk about something that's maybe coming out in 2025 so that we can pump the brakes on 2026 a little bit. And that is Digimon Story Time Stranger. We had talked about this before. There's Digimon Anomalies with turn-based combat, and also, guess what? You can ride your Digimon.
I really want to like this. I love Digimon. I think we talked about like last week or the week before how like when I was a kid, I was super into like I wrote Digimon fan fiction. I was a big Digimon girly. I was very active in the Digimon community. That was like, I think I wanted to be a hipster because Pokemon was so cool, and don't get me wrong, I loved it, but like loved me some Digimon. I have never been able to get into the Digimon games, so maybe this will break that streak, break the habit for me. Who knows? But yeah, this is coming out October 3rd.
I think you'll like this one. If it shows up, you'll get into it.
What I do know that I will like is Lumines Arise. and you're like, oh, this isn't your normal type of game. I freaking love. I just told you, I like something I can put music on and turn my brain off. And I get this is a puzzle game, so you need to think a little bit. But this definitely seems like you get into a flow state. You get into a vibe. It's from the makers of Tetris Effect, and it has very similar, like things are dropping down and you have to slot them into places. And I don't really understand if like you're clearing things or if you're just moving things forward. But it had a banger of a soundtrack. You can play this in VR, but you don't need to, which is great for me because I don't have the new PSVR. This is just something I could see myself like vibing to at 10 o'clock at night.
I thought this was a loading screen for the state of play.
Vibes and aesthetic, man. That's my brain. After 10 o'clock, that is my brain. That's what's happening in there.
I think it could have done more to like, and this might not even be the game's fault. Like from a trailer perspective, I think they could have done more to captivate the viewers because of that exact thought. I thought we were just, all right, what is this? What is this 3D stuff flying at the screen? And then I thought it was like showcasing VR, but oh wait, this is the actual game. So maybe it's great, but I will say the trailer showing this off was not executed well.
Well, there is a demo of both single player and multiplayer modes, I believe, coming out. So check out the demo, I guess. I'm going to force you to play this with me. I don't know. This is just the stupid shit that my brain looks like when like I said, like
your brain looks like.
Yeah, this is what's going on in my brain. It's just like, yeah. And like weird space orbs. And then my brain shuts down and I go to bed. It's great.
It's a weird bedtime routine. All right. And so now the last one that we're going to call out, and certainly not the least, Sea of Remnants. So this, for me, it was like a Sea of Thieves meets RPG with sea battles against massive creatures. So it gave me a huge Sea of Thieves vibe. And what's weird about it is Sea of Thieves is announcing a thieving DLC. So it's like kind of strange that this is coming out on the same time as it. But that's basically what this is. You're a thieving...
You're a pirate.
Pirate, yeah.
I mean, this looked very like irreverent humor, a lot of stealth / combat, land and ship gameplay, huge sea monsters like you mentioned. It seemed like there might be some multiplayer elements. I don't know. So there's been, I feel like, a lot of pirate games coming out lately. And this is the first one that made me want to be like, I would be interested in playing this. If just because it doesn't seem like you have to play multiplayer. It seems like you can just go and be a little stealthy pirate popping people over the head.
I tend to agree with that. That's where Sea of Thieves kind of jumps the shark for me, is that you're beholden to massive multiplayer online.
Right. So like this actually seems like it might be up my alley. And I don't know. It just seemed like it's fun. It's coming out in 2026. I could see myself playing this. Depends on the price though. Like I feel like I'll get this on sale. And if I have to do a bunch of multiplayer stuff, I'm immediately out. I don't want a multiplayer pirate. I just want to be a solo pirate.
Ahoy. Ahoy indeed.
So there are a ton of games we didn't get to. We obviously didn't cover the Summer Games Fest. Let us know. Hit us up on Blue Sky. I'm at ownerdbomber.bsky.social. He's at techtic.bsky.social. We're at onlinewarriors.bsky.social. So hit us up on any of those. Tell us what you were most excited about in these showcases. Tell us what we missed that you wish we talked about. Tell us what we totally whiffed on at the Summer Games Fest that we didn't get to cover at all. It's E3 week. There's so much to talk about.
We tried.
We did. We tried so hard. The fact that we packed so much into like 55 minutes or so before we get into our what are you up to? Incredible feat. Good job, Techtic. Good job.
Good job, Nerdbomber.
So now we are going to move into our what are you up to? And as I mentioned, we were on vacation, but we did watch a vacation movie because it rained the one night and we got stuck in the house. So we watched Mickey 17 and it's now streaming on HBO. I don't know what the app is called anymore. HBO Max, HBO Go.
Just Max. Call it HBO Max.
Sure. It's on that app. And this is the movie that came out very recently with Edward Cullen, whose name... Robert Pattinson. Thank you. Who plays the main character, Mickey, who basically joins a space mission to colonize another planet, but he joins as an expendable because he's very desperate to get off Earth. And as an expendable, his mind is uploaded into basically a hard drive in a computer. So every time he dies and he's being put in dangerous situations, specifically because he is expendable and he dies a lot, they reprint his body and they upload his mind. And I don't want to give any spoilers, so I don't want to give too much away. But Techtic, what did you think of this movie?
I thought it was good in the sense of it's one of those movies where the more you think about it, the more you like realized they did certain things and like little subtle things that made it even better. Like, so like, for example, just it's not really a spoiler, but I do think Mickey 17 was a unique one of all of the other ones for reasons I don't want to spoil. But like those kind of little discrete touches of why he was unique and things like that, I thought were just absolutely fantastic. And they could have just like explained it away with, oh, printer reasons, blah, blah, blah. But no, there were subtle details in this, and that made it really good. And then beyond just like the cloning and reprinting and dyeing and reprinting aspect of it, there were additional side stories that just made it like a lot more expansive of a world that I was going to be watching that I didn't realize I was in store for.
Yeah, I expected this movie to really just focus on the fact that he was being cloned and being an expendable. And I do think at certain points, because the movie, it was not super duper long. Like, I think it was on just under 2 hours. Somebody fact check me in the blue sky and tell me I'm wrong, but that's fine. But it wasn't like a 3-hour epic-length movie. And so I think
it didn't feel long.
It didn't feel long. And I feel like some of the storylines didn't necessarily have enough room to breathe. But there was so much going on that I kind of appreciated it, because I felt like it probably could have just gotten long in the tooth or a little bit campy if it only focused on the fact that he was
2 hours and 17 minutes.
Okay, so it was a long.
Feel like
it was a beefy boy. It did not feel that long at all. Also, I have to apologize. If your name is Gail and you got kicked off your HBO Max account multiple times over the span of 2 hours and 17 minutes, we did not realize we were not logged into our own account. I was sick. So I just kind of like hit HBO Max and I was like, oh, here we are. And then we kept getting kicked. And we're like, what is going on? And someone named Gal had been logged in and she was trying to watch a different movie. And then we changed to my account because we're not jerks. But yeah, sorry, Gal. Sorry about that.
And then in addition to Mickey 17, I'll hit it with the other side. Guys, we went fishing and we caught it was freshwater fishing. We caught a stupid amount of fish, something like over 20 fish. We do catch and release. So like it could have been
I refuse to kill a fish.
Same handful of fish over and over and over, but they didn't have the same marks. And like we caught smallmouth bass, we caught white bass, we caught perch, we caught sunnies. We caught so many different fish. Like and I'm gonna shout out, Nerdbomber was carrying the team.
I think they could sense the vibe. Like I just had good riz on the end of my pole, so they were like, I gotta go hit that lure, and it was great. We did try night fishing, and we didn't catch a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I think it's a bust this time of year. I think you needed to be a little bit warmer for them to be active at night. But
it was neat though. It was like a rave on my bobber. I had a glow stick, and it was just like doof 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 because it was wavy, and yeah. I guess it was kind of cool because there was a glow stick bobbing out there for a little bit. Maybe the fish were having a party. They were so distracted they didn't want to bite because they were like, wow, look at this.
That's exactly what it was, actually.
So with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. We thank you guys for joining us here. We've got some really cool stuff coming your way over the next few weeks. Super stoked. Probably some more game news and announcements. We're in the thick of it for the summer, guys. It's crazy out there. We appreciate you, sticking with us through this whirlwind of an episode. And we'll talk at you next week. But until then, stay safe and keep on podcasting.